Green. 11. Friends don't lie. Stop it! You're freaking her out! She's freaking me out! The upside down. Do you understand what he's talking about?
No.
I found the chocolate bunny!
Oh God, please tell me it's not the kid.
I need to die!
Mornings are for coffee and contemplation.
Holy shit.
Welcome to another episode of Streaming Things, the unofficial podcast of Stranger Things. My name is Chris.
I'm Andy.
I'm Steve.
And we are back. Episode 2, Chapter 2, rather, The Weirdo on Maple Street. So this show, we do a deep dive into Stranger Things Season 1, leading up to Season 2, where we will be back to do the same damn thing. But
Damn
better
straight.
and bigger. More explosions.
Two-ear.
Two-ear. Much two-ear. So The Weirdo on Maple Street kind of gets right off the bat there with the homage, but we can talk about that in the Ego segment. The Netflix description of what this episode entails is Lucas, Mike, and Dustin try to talk to the girl they found in the woods. Hopper questions an anxious Joyce about an unsettling phone call. And that's exactly what happens. They did a very good job. Again, I really got to give props to Netflix on these episode descriptions. There's not a whole lot I can add
It's
to
good that they don't just straight lie to you.
Yeah. Shit goes down. It's still vague, but intriguing.
Yeah.
So, yeah, we get a lot about Jonathan Byers running forward with his camera, which is the only real thing I had a problem with this time around. I have to say, we can just start off with the negative right off the bat, because that's the kind of guy I am. I'm cynical. But I was thinking, so Jonathan's run through the woods where the last place that Will Byers was known to be, right? So he takes his camera, his 80s camera, with an expensive flash setup. What is his goal? Does anybody know? Because I am lost.
Well, he's just investigating, you know.
Generally investigating.
Sure. He doesn't know what to do, I think, at this point.
Because it almost makes it seem like he's taking pictures of inane places. Going out at night is not what you do if you're going to take evidence photos, right? And what spurs him to think that he's better than the police at taking these photos? So it's almost like he's using the flash on the camera, which is obviously extremely ineffective because there's also flashlights that have a constant light. And doubly ineffective because if that's what he's doing, you know, old cameras, this is before digital age. So with a roll of film, you've only got 26 shots,
Something
I think.
like that, yeah.
And so I'm just confused. I know he's desperate, you know, and that's, I'm not going to pick too hard, but I just don't understand that scene, like what the camera's goal. It's almost like he's aware of something supernatural and hoping, but he can't be because he argues with his mom at great length later against the supernatural.
What if it's almost a way for him to process the tragedy that his brother's gone missing? Because they established in the first episode that he's kind of an artsy photographer.
Sure.
Yeah.
So maybe this is his kind of way to kind of think about it, like because the shots he's taking do look like crime scene photos, but you could also kind of
I wonder if there's more homage there.
Yeah, but you could also make the argument that if you're an artsy photographer kid, you'd be like, oh my God, that tire. The loss of innocence.
But he can't see anything until the shot. And it bothers me too, because since it's not digital, these frames that the audience is getting, he's not getting.
Yeah.
He's getting a brief flash, but we're almost seeing, I guess it's more of just an 80s crime movie, kind of like, what's that movie that the original Red Dragon that Michael Mann did? Yeah, it's kind of like a Manhunter vibe. It was like, you know what I mean? Like that old like 7 sound design, like
Yeah,
that's what it sounded.
Super creepy.
Yeah, you know what I'm talking about. Anyway, that was kind of an issue for me, but very nitpicky, tiny bullshit there.
Adding on to, that's pen for you. Adding on to that, what do you think about, so he goes to Mirkwood, the road that Will got lost on. He's taking some photos and somehow he just wanders into Steve's backyard.
Right.
Which you get the impression that Steve's from a more affluent family. And
so why is he living in Mirkwood?
So why is he living in Mirkwood, which you kind of get the appearance that that's where the people who aren't financially well off, like Will's family, live. But they're just like, you know, just right across the woods.
That was another thing I thought of. It's like that area, Mirkwood, is like adjacent to everywhere. And like, I know it's a small town, but they do a really poor job of delineating how far the search party at various times is walking. Because it's like, We're in where Will was last seen, and secret weird science base.
Yeah, it's a stone's throw
And
from the
Steve's
suburbs.
house. And clearly really close to Will's house.
Well,
by the way, there's a Denny's here. Oh,
The
I'm sorry,
science
a Benny's.
compound. The science compound was closer to Benny's, though, right?
I guess.
Like they had a search party behind Benny's, and they found the science compound, and then like Jonathan goes on Mirkwood and is like, "Oh, that's Steve's house,
Right.
Sweet." And he takes some killer photos.
Yeah, if we drew a map in crayon of this city, it would be very small. We could use a 8x11 sheet for sure, with Mirkwood taking up most of it.
A search party didn't take long at all.
This
They're
is no
just like,
token map.
Well, it's 20 feet. All right, let's go. It's not here.
We're gonna hit it right in the first episode. Like, where's the girl? She can't have gone far.
Yeah, like literally, she couldn't have.
Literally, she said Benny's. You can see it out the window. Hey, Benny.
Benny, is she there? Benny. Is that a Denny's joke? I just realized, or was that me?
It could be.
I mean, I'm a genius. It's possible.
Yeah. I mean, they do sound similar.
Breakfast at Benny's. Is that a Breakfast at Tiffany's 80s illusion? Which is a 50s film, but I meant like the song. What about? Is that an 80s song? I'm terrible at the music
I think
on
that's
this
a 90s
show.
song.
Yeah, it's whatever.
Early
It's Stu.
90s.
Nobody asked you, bud. So we, the beginning of the episode is almost a match cut. It's not a match cut, but it's almost like that from the end of the last show.
Yeah.
That with the rain, I just felt like they did a good job. Very detail oriented, these Duffer Brothers. And I feel like a lesser filmmaker would not be so obsessed. Like it maybe wouldn't be raining in the very first scene of the following episode. So they're aware that it's a binge model where they probably just finished watching the first episode, which is very difficult to do in a production, I would imagine. I was just immediately scribbling away like, damn, good job.
I mean, they probably filmed it the same day.
Okay, maybe.
I would have thought
Probably
so.
not though, because it's in the woods, and then you got a house shot, and then you're going to reset up everything. Maybe, for continuity, but I just impressive either way.
That's right. Because the first episode ends when they're outside and it's raining, and then I get what you're saying. Yeah, no, just good. Continuity. Script
Absolutely.
supervisors on it. Like, hey,
props
it
to
was
the
raining.
unsung hero of Stranger Things,
Script
the
supervisor.
script supervisor. Didn't Google him because you know why. I think what stood out to me a lot in this episode, and I pointed at it last time, but Hopper's, you really get the foreshadowing, something that's now overt, that his daughter had gone missing and passed away, right?
She didn't
Maybe
go
not go
missing,
missing, but
but
it's
yeah.
lost, right? Missing to him symbolically.
He's missing her.
But it's so subtle how they always play up when he confronts Joyce and they have that argument over the phone call. And it was interesting because now it's his turn to be dismissive of her.
Right.
Right. Because in the last scene, he was finding this evidence and she's like, it's just the fucking dog. Leave me alone. Now she's, the phone, And he's like, okay, it's just some crazy guy. The storm is why the phone did that. So it's his turn to be dismissive. But when she attacks him out of her grief and says, "Wouldn't you know your own daughter's voice?" Which is which is breathing, which is a dick move, but understandable. Mm-hmm. You can I love how it's so subtle, like that look on his face.
Yeah, his
It's
jaw locks, like
a moment of passing. Mm-hmm. Yeah, and then he stumbles outside and starts chugging those mystery pills.
Yeah,
what are they?
Xanax, I'm sure.
Some sort of nerve pill, I guess. But he never acts Xanaxy. He doesn't black out and wake up with fucking Cheetos all over him ever.
That we know
First
of.
scene that we meet him, he's passed out on the couch
That's
surrounded
true.
by beer.
Totally does do that. Might be.
He passes out and wakes up with a random woman next to him.
Mm-hmm. And that look of disgust on his face when he and she's beautiful. Like that is not a what did I do moment for me personally. And who is this mystery woman?
Yeah, do we know who that is yet?
No.
Definitely not yet, and I don't
Okay.
know that we ever do. And is it a fling? Is it a relationship?
I think it's just characterizing him. You know what I mean? Like, there's no like.
Well, I love how they
meaningful love
cut
in his
from the
life
party
anymore.
and then let the soundtrack keep playing, and there was the beer everywhere. So it was very much like supposed to have the lingering, delinquency feel, the lingering party feel.
Yeah. Right.
But I don't know that it was appropriate because she was seemed like a nice lady, you
Right.
know. And why would she be with him? Because he's clearly unstable. He's definitely in his frumpier era.
It's the badge, bro.
He leaves
they see the badge and it's all over.
the men in uniform. I mean, he leaves doors open when it's freezing cold and he's smoking. I know it's the 80s, but jeez, man.
She goes out there and she's like, make me warm. What she really means is close the fucking door.
I thought you were going to say she really means, let's do it again.
Well, that's implied. When one door closes.
Another opens.
Yeah.
Vagina.
Yeah.
That's what you meant, just in case the listeners didn't get it.
Welcome back to Vagina Things.
But then he's also very protective of Joyce, which also goes in line with his dead kid, I think. Very insensitive way of saying that. But when the cop, talks about her, he's like, dude, she just lost her son. Have some fucking class.
Yeah.
So he's very much empathetic towards her situation, whereas the other officers are not. And I just think they just do these really subtle tricks to keep you in line with where Hopper's at in this, with some kind of emotional investment that he has.
I'm sure he would have experienced a lot of tactless comments over the course of recovering from the loss of his daughter. You know, like, hey, her kid's missing, have some class. Like, hey, there's things you don't say. And he's dealt with that, I'm sure. He knows what she's going through, at least to an extent. And yeah, he's just, it's characterizing him. It's alluding to a backstory that we don't know yet, at least as far as like what actually happened with his daughter. And, you know, at this point in the series that there's some kind of tragic loss in the background, but they have not been overt with it yet, you know, so it's just sort of hinting at some deep, darker thing for him. It's brilliant.
Well, and it reminded me too, I didn't mention it last episode, and this is from last episode, but I love the way when the teacher was trying to pry, he lied to him and said she's with her mother in the city. And I got this immediate sense, it was so brilliant that like, it's not that he cares to hide that fact or that he's ashamed of it, just doesn't want the pity, the questions, that awkward moment where it was almost like to spare the teacher some uncomfortableness that he lied. Like, that's going to make you feel really awkward. I don't want to feel like dealing with that fucking shit right now. I'm almost out of Xanax. I'm just going to lie, you know, which does some more characterization for Hopper. So,
But that
Hopper's
one lady
awesome.
was more than happy to come out.
Was that
his
Flo?
kid's dead.
Was that Flo? I don't think it was.
I don't think that was.
Hey, who was
Flo's
that lady?
older. Yeah,
who was that fucking bean spiller?
She's just on the PTA board.
Nosy girl, yeah. Oh, she dead. Yeah. And he banged Joyce, I think, too. So you can talk about that anytime
No,
you
he
want.
doesn't close the door when they do it.
It's really cold out. This heating bill's got to be through the roof. Salaries for sheriffs must be good. Which I don't remember. And I should say for the listeners who haven't listened to the show before, so our shtick, we always record the episode right after watching the most recent show. And Andy has seen it multiple times. Steve and I have not seen Stranger Things season 1 since its premiere about a year ago. So it's very fresh for me. I don't know how much Steve remembers, but I was kind of shocked when I'm just able to put it together for the second time, which is really fun. The police, he's like, and he banged Joyce, right? Didn't he? So they leave that kind of in the air. And then later when Jonathan goes to see his father, Lonnie, he's like, is Hopper still sheriff? So you kind of get that sense that he doesn't like him because he banged his ex-wife.
Yeah.
That's what I'm picking up now in my head. Is that where we're all on the same page there?
For sure.
Yeah, they're definitely leaving those breadcrumbs to get to that assumption.
Sex crumbs, we'll call them.
Sex crumbs. That just sounds gross.
Oh, God.
That's true. That's true. Sorry about that.
Speaking of Lonnie, it was...
I thought you were going to say, speaking of sex crumbs.
Speaking of sex crumbs, do you guys ever know?
Do tell.
I thought it was very interesting that everyone, it's Joyce's kid's missing. And then the one guy that was eating at Benny's that saw 11 come in, he's like, oh, that's not Lonnie's boy. Yeah. I just thought that was kind of an interesting thing that's one
Lonnie's.
dude has more of a
didn't
connection
catch
to
that.
Lonnie than Joyce.
Yeah.
Just a weird
No,
quick
that is
side.
very good. It's very duffery.
Patriarchal thing. Yeah.
There's that, but also like to bring it in, like they all know Lonnie. He used to live there.
Sure.
It's a very deft, subtle move. They're deft duffers. I have Lonnie ? In my notes here. I'm not sure why. Other than do I like him? No. I think it was to Google and IMDb him and see what other things he was in because he looked familiar and the way they treated him felt like a seasoned actor that you were supposed to recognize, but I didn't do that, so we'll just move on there.
That actor, I feel like I would believe it more if he was Steve's dad.
Yeah.
Like just the way that guy looks. He, to me at least, he looks more like Steve's
No.
dad.
Well, that's the thing. I think and they do a very good job of that. That he's very immature and unwilling to be, Ted. From the first episode,
fucking Ted.
so unwilling to be Ted that he's a terrible father, and he, left his wife for this younger woman who looks like she's straight out of like an '80s exercise video. And they do a great job of establishing the kind of lifestyle he leads. There's some Officer Hopper beer cans everywhere. She comes to the door. She's obviously very rude and uncouth to guests who are clearly young lost boys looking for their missing brother. Like that's all over his face.
And then she makes a flip by the end of the scene, like, oh, he's cute.
Yeah, so she goes straight from like, what are you doing here? And then just in case you still have any shred of liking this lady or the situation that his estranged father's in, she pulls out the like, I kind of want to fuck the young one. And you're like, whoa, okay.
Yeah.
I see what you're doing here. Yeah. And then he doesn't even get mad. He's like, yeah. Which is super, you know what I mean? Like,
I wouldn't blame you. The seed is strong.
Let's see the Game of Thrones reference. I love it. I did notice that Steve's hair is way more douchey in '80s in this episode. I just slightly, it was like down in the last one, but they really feathered it in this time. The flock of seagulls thing going, which is maybe another homage. First appearance of the Eggos.
Yay!
We were all excited about that.
Kind of an unceremonious introduction to the Eggos, with knowing how iconic they become.
Well, they gave it a good pop out the toaster.
Well, yeah, but the Eggos are so iconic with 11 specifically, and she's just kind of like, no, I'm gonna eat this.
Oh yeah, she did just.
She doesn't really react to
she
it.
didn't look at it like, what is this?
Oh yeah, she goes right for
But
it.
that's how she is. She's always hungry as shit. Like with the French fries, she wasn't like, is this food? Or why it's so salty? Ooh, I'm greasy. I wonder if there's ketchup here. She's just like, nah.
These are actually straight out of the fryer. Really hot.
Yeah, she just took a little dainty bite.
Do you think if you just hand anything to 11, her first instinct is to bite it?
Yes.
She's like the 3-year-old. She's like baby Holly.
Here, if you want to watch TV, here's a remote.
She's just biting a lazy boy. Actually, what freaked me out more than anything is there's no syrup even on
That is weird.
even on Mike's Eggos.
Yeah.
And he should fucking know better.
And he was drenching his pancakes in syrup the episode before.
And his eggs.
Yeah.
His fucking
But no syrup on the waffle because he's a freak.
He's an Eggo
So I think
purist.
the weirdo on Maple Street is actually Mike who doesn't use maple syrup. Genius, Duffer Brothers. Wow.
You thought it was 11 the whole time. Nope.
Wow, Duffers are the deaf Duffers back again. Wow.
I like that scene, though, where they're at the breakfast table and Mike's like, oh, Nancy, did you have a good time studying human anatomy? And it's that perfect brother or sister, like, shut up. And they're like kicking each other underneath the table. Like, I love that scene. That's such a good just picture of what brothers and sisters are like.
Yeah, especially 80s brothers and sisters. I thought she was a little too quick to get what he was alluding at, though. Not that she's not smart. They've established that. But she doesn't know that he saw Steve climbing on the roof.
Good point.
So I thought maybe like a narrowed eye of suspicion may have played better for me there. But I guess we're willing to grant maybe they've discussed it because it's not the first time they spoke that morning. And, I'll give it to him.
Or maybe Steve got in bed and he was like, hey, your little brother's
That's true as well.
sneaking out. Did you know that?
Yeah.
Should we be concerned?
I'm really worried about your brother. He doesn't use syrup. Some quick notes. Skim milk in the 80s. Was that a thing?
Don't know.
Because it was, because the 80s was when the huge diet fad hit. That's when it was like they started pushing gyms and exercising and diet versions of everything. It was very much an 80s thing. So I would see skim milk being that.
Yeah, I guess. It struck me as odd because he's like, what, 12, 13?
Yeah.
He's like, we got juice, skim milk? And I was like, dude, you don't fuck with skim milk. There's
We got
no way.
soy.
Yeah, right? I was like, what is this?
Whole
Like
Foods is right next door to Benny's.
the gluten-free 80s?
Benny.
Because I didn't get hip to skim milk till my late teens, I was very much a whole milk little boy, but I was chunky. I was more of a Dustin or a Chunk or something. Anyway, the Lazy Boy, that was huge. I think they did a great job. That's also super 80s, right? But
very much so.
In the fabric and everything. But I just couldn't believe that, and I don't mean to grant them. I know the Duffer Brothers are obviously very smart, but the fact that they could remember that as a small child, how fun just popping the leg out on a lazy boy is. Because I hadn't forgotten until I saw her little face. And I'm like, dude, that was the shit. I did that all day.
And that was like a name brand. I remember growing up when people were like, oh, you have a lazy boy?
Oh, yeah, it was lay-z-boy.
That's literally the only name brand of a couch that I know. I don't know any other name brands for couches.
Oh, totally. It's like Band-Aid.
Chairs.
Yeah.
Like
Lazy
what?
Boy, Band-Aid.
Oh, Band-Aid.
Because Band-Aid's a brand. It's actually an adhesive strip, you know? But now it's just Band-Aids. Now chairs are just lazy boys. Not lazy girls. 22-inch was funny.
Yeah. It's like 10 times bigger than Dustin's. He's got 2-inch teeth.
Because I can remember watching TV as a kid on my 19-inch and then being forced to watch some things on the 12-inch. Like, damn it. Couldn't watch it on the big screen. And then when we got a 32-inch, I was like, holy shit. It's got a VHS built in it. You know? So that was cute and cool.
Does it rewind? Don't care.
And then a quick tidbit from last episode. We figured out baby's name is Holly.
Baby Holly.
He refers to her as Baby Holly. Mm-hmm. Which reminds me of Buddy Holly.
She's still got that mug, too.
Yeah,
in this
she's an
episode.
alcoholic. Holly is on her way to some hard drinking. She just responds to every stimuli that way.
You're having a rough life, Holly.
Dinner is for liquor and contemplation, guys. Liquor and contemplation.
Stop fighting. Millie Bobby Brown is the name of the actress who plays 11.
I love it.
She is so good.
She's amazing. She's
so good.
Ridiculously good.
I was struck every scene. I kept trying to write it because we have a segment coming up later called Chocolate Pudding, wherein we enumerate our favorite moments. And every single time Millie was on the screen, I wanted to write it down, even the most inane things. Like, I'm almost ashamed that I put finger gun understand as a potential candidate. Like, that's silly. Like, it's so early.
Yeah.
But I love the way that the writing there is cool too. But just the way she does it so convincingly, like, it terrified me. Like, they're gonna finger gun me. You know what I mean? Like, then we can't do that. Like, and I love that he just believes her. I know that he's a kid.
Stakes are too high.
Right? How does he just believe her? Like, he doesn't know her, and he immediately understands. Like, oh, they're gonna shoot me in the fucking face. Okay, then we can't. Okay, Plan B for sure.
This girl buzzes her head. She means business.
Right.
She doesn't
got a
play.
tattoo.
And I believe, so Millie Bobby Brown, I think, won an award from the Screen Actors Guild for outstanding performance.
Be well deserved if she did.
Yes. So her and Winona both won for that, and I think she's one of the only ones. So
I'm waiting for the moment when she shows her tattoo to someone, and instead of saying 11, they go 011.
I know, because that's
that
what
your
I would
name?
have said. Who skips the 0?
I don't know.
I think that they put the 0 on there to make it very clear that it's 11 and not like 2.
Roman numeral 2.
Roman numeral 2?
Well, even the ones have the notches and the lines under, though, don't they?
I don't think so. I thought it was just a 0.
I think they have one notch.
There's a one identifier, I'm pretty sure. Just for me, like when I'm reading a ticket, like at a raffle, which I do frequently.
Yeah.
you read the last 3 digits, you don't want to read all 6. But I always go like 025.
All right.
You know? I never go 25. So I picked that up too, Steve. I'm glad you said that. Okay, Millie's so good. I put there for sure. And then when she's in the closet and you get that PTSD and you immediately sense like she's so good at her age. I don't know how old she is as an actress, but just looking like she's been through a world of shit. Just the fear that's just pouring out of her. Yeah. It's so
Just
palpable.
that flip she can switch between what you just described and then just the childlike wonder of lazy boy. Whoa.
Yeah. Or ego. Had better. French fries were better.
Benny had ice cream.
I love the editing in that scene too, where they put her in the closet and then they show her being dragged into that confinement cell. And there's just this close up of her, looking up and crying out, but they like keep cutting it and they keep jumping ahead in shots, but it's the same shot, but it's just jumping forward, and it's really cool the way that they utilize that edit. I
wrote down the seamless use of flashbacks in this show is striking me as like incredible.
Yeah.
Because flashbacks are really hard to do and have it not be corny and in your face, and it's very clearly normally just like we didn't know where else to fucking put this super important information. boom.
Yeah.
You know, and it really takes you out. You kind of see the wires. You know, you see the wizard behind the curtain when people do that in movies. But in this show, it's almost like diegetic flashbacks, which I know is cheating and inventing something new, but I think it works. Like, so for listeners that don't know, when soundtrack is used diegetically, it's the sound is in the movie itself. So like Guardians of the Galaxy is some recent examples that try to do that a lot, where they have like a tape player, and sometimes it's really a struggle for them to make it diegetic, you know. And they're like, do you got any more of that sweet ass music? And they pop it on, and then it's the soundtrack for the scene. But these flashbacks are just like, in the first one, it was seamlessly put into her walking again to the fort, you know, and it cuts to real time and she's still looking in, but it's empty now. It was just genius, you know. And in this show, he hears the Clash on the radio while he's driving in the car, and it just seamlessly cuts to him listening to that song with Will. And then the scene you're talking about with the PTSD closet, you know, she goes in and she's reminded by the closet and the confined space of that memory specifically. And so we go there with her, and we go there with him as he's reminded of that.
Right.
We go there with her as she's reminded of that. You know what I mean? It's just so seamless and fucking good.
The through lines of it are excellent. They're really, really just, like smooth. You know, there's no other way to put it. And they do it a lot with editing, and with the show specifically, just like the tiniest detail from one scene bleeding over into the next. I thought immediately of the party scene, the debauchery of the kids drinking on the Tuesday night or whatever, cutting into all the beer cans laying around with Hopper, things like that. Little visual threads to kind of handhold you into the next scene are just really well done.
Editing's
Raised
phenomenal.
a little hell
Raised a little hell.
in that bedroom.
Know what I'm saying? I always try to point out the 80s thing. We should have a segment called Most 80s, but the 80s hair of Steve, the 80s van that the scientists pull up in. They're such 80s scientists with their 80s boots and their 80s suits.
Hazmats, yeah.
Yeah, like my son's 4 years old and he likes to dress up a lot. So he loves Halloween, but he does it all year round. If I had like a 4-year-old hazmat suit costume, it would be those guys. You know what I mean? It's so cheap, but it doesn't look low budget because it's the homage factor. You know what I mean? And they've got like the 80s. I don't know what, I just made up a name that probably is what they made up. Ectograph. You know what I mean? Like, it's so like when they were trying to find the Demogorgon.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? The scientists with the hazmat suits.
And they find his goo in the shed.
And you just automatically get, it's so 80s, like, oh, technological thing, doing techie stuff, you know? Yeah. Oh, it's beeping, it's finding shit.
It's beeping a lot over here. Does it do that?
That's so 80s. I love it that they remembered this shit so well. How sad was it when Eleven is screaming Papa?
Yeah.
That's heartbreaking.
Because you immediately get the sense that that's not her real father, but that he has manipulated her into believing that he is her patriarch, and that she feels so betrayed. And there's all these allusions to like child abuse. I mean, it's really child abuse, but you know what I mean? Like, it's also like he really was her father, and it's just
Because even though he's
watch.
complicit in, everything that's happening to her, she's still crying out for him to help her. And he doesn't do anything. He's willing to let her suffer.
Which is why she has so many issues with trust. And so when she sees, like, it's so heartbreaking, and the moment when he comes back to the closet, you could see the look on her face when Mike returns after having to delay his mother. She didn't expect him to come back. She's trapped in there and she's weeping, like, here I go again. And that look on her face, like, holy shit, promise? You know what I mean? Like, okay, you can trust people sometimes, and they'll give you cool treats. Hell yeah. So yeah, I had that big star by that, the relief when Mike comes back. Great foreshadowing. Again, a lot of people might be listening to this while they watch the show for the first time, so be warned. But Hopper and his fellow officer deputy standing on the cliff talking about what would happen if he jumped off. Some pretty great foreshadowing there that obviously we probably missed the first time around. Like, nah, that would fuck you up, break every bone in your body. And dude's like, no way. You know?
Yeah.
Pretty sure Jim jumped it way back in the day.
I'm pretty sure Flo did it.
Yeah. She took a couple of your crazy pills and it was fun.
Flo's a wild gal. She likes to party.
What'd you think about The Clash? I'm just going to throw this out here, see if you guys know what I'm talking about. The Clash, Double Entendre. For listeners at home, play The Clash, Double entendre.
The Should I Stay or Should I Go? With specifically Winona Ryder's character.
That was pretty good, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Just like Fleetwood Mac from the last episode.
Yeah.
Just kidding. That was Jefferson Airplane. We're well aware. Stop sending your emails. Yeah, I just thought that was brilliant because obviously it's just an homage thing. Clash, 80s, boom, boom, boom. And then she's literally in the car wanting to flee because what the fuck just happened.
Yeah.
But should I stay because it has something to do with where my son is?
Yeah.
And if I go, there will be trouble. Or wait,
Yeah.
however it goes. But if I stay,
There will be double.
it's going to be double. I just thought it was really good. A little corny.
Yeah, no, it's good because earlier on in the episode, they kind of, specifically Lonnie, he insinuates that maybe she's not a great parent. Maybe we've only gotten one side of the story, that she's not this great parent that we've been believed to be. And so when she runs out in fear, she has that moment of, should I leave or should I stay for her child? And she stays for her child. And it's kind of like a exclamation point, like, no, she might be a flawed character, but she is a good parent. She's here. The dad left, but she didn't. And that's family, guys.
Yeah. Really lonely and scary with wall monsters. And no, I totally get that. And I love that about this show, because I had some turmoil in my childhood and neither parent is perfect. And obviously Lonnie's a dick, but I'm sure he has a side to the story.
Sure.
I'm sure she had some issues that she took out on him. She may have fucked Hopper. I don't know. She might have hopped all up on Hopper. But even aside from that, I'm sure it was no cakewalk and that he was not just the villain,
Right.
And they do, I think, a pretty good job of really subtly pushing that through. I don't know.
Agreed.
Any overall thoughts or, for the plot recap before we dive into our segments? Or some great comedy, which, again, they seamlessly interweave with the horror.
Yeah.
But some of this might be your favorite moments, so I don't want to spoil some of those moments.
Just real
Kind of why
quickly,
I'm hanging back.
this is something you'll probably hear me say multiple times throughout the season, but
I love you.
Mike and Nancy's parents.
No.
Well, I love you too. That's all fair. Mike and Nancy's parents, can we just agree, are like the worst parents ever? The most oblivious parents of all time. They've got guys sneaking into their second floor. They've got a bald girl living in their basement, and they're none the wiser. I'm pretty sure Ted doesn't even realize he has a third child.
Right. Who's the drunk baby?
It's like, when did we get a drunk one? That one looks cool.
Yeah, Ted's definitely bad. I got a lot more sympathy for the mom. She seems to be giving him extra slack because his friend's missing, and I think in her mind,
That's true.
In her mind, dead. You can tell she's like, Will's dead, so it's okay if you fake sick today because Will's dead. But you better go tomorrow, because that's Mommy's day for DJ Hero.
I gotta watch my soaps. DJ Hero.
I don't know. And I had friends like that too. They weren't neglectful parents, but they kind of had too many kids to keep an eye on. They both had careers, and we kind of just were always in the basement doing crazy shit, and they didn't know. They just wanted to assume that we were up to good, and we were not, to their chagrin. But I totally get what you mean. The one thing that stands out to me was a little much when there was a clear bump.
There's a body falling.
She's like, somebody up there, and he's like, nope.
They're sitting at the breakfast table, and Eleven literally walks down the stairs, and Mike chokes on his milk, spits it everywhere. Dustin just bangs his hands on the table, look at me, and she's just sorry, spasm.
Yeah,
she's just spasm.
Yeah, okay.
Right.
He's weird, and he got no teeth in the front. So
Mike, I don't want you to bring Dustin over anymore. He doesn't eat my meatloaf, and I know he's fat.
I had 2 bologna sandwiches for lunch.
He doesn't even know why.
I know why. He's a little chunky.
That's a great line too. I had 2 bologna sandwiches. I don't even know why. It happened.
Yeah, that's what made the comedy of that moment. But even when she comes home, there is clearly 4 footsteps. You know what I mean? You don't have to be an auditory wizard or some kind of Hopper-style detective to hear as more than one person. Mm-hmm. And she's like, Tad? Does that flow with you? And
Flo likes to party.
She's totally fine with assuming it's just her son sprinting around upstairs in his sickness and grief.
On all fours.
I was playing Tiger again, skipping school. Hashtag justice for Barb.
No.
You guys remember that?
I do.
I do.
remember
It'll
that.
become a much bigger thing later. I do want to say, we can spoil this.
She was in the Emmys opening. Remember that?
I think she won
an Emmy?
an Emmy.
Oh, God.
Because it was like an absurd, it was an absurd thing. I remember being talked about that she was probably one of the least deserved of an Emmy for this show.
Yeah.
And I think one of the only winners on the acting side.
Wow.
She
that-
got nominated.
Is that all it was? It was just the
Yeah.
nomination, but the only one to be nominated? Okay.
I don't know that she was. Yeah, it's just insane that she got nominated at
for
all.
2 episodes.
Yeah, 2 episodes and a handful of lines.
Really,
in
and,
those
and
episodes.
I don't think they were delivered super great.
No, they
I mean, she
weren't.
played her part well, but
Yeah.
I was kind of really analyzing it, knowing that she had been nominated this time, and I'm thinking, nah.
She's not any better than anyone else on that show.
Yeah.
Like, she's not terrible at all.
I would say she's nowhere near even the top echelon of that show.
No.
Even if you take Winona out, take Hopper out, she's right on, like, I don't know, Lucas level.
Yeah.
Okay, so moving along. Chocolate Pudding is a segment wherein we point out all of our most favorite moments and we try to rank them from 3 to 2 to 1, which makes sense because that's how numbers go. Down
the chocolate pudding.
down the chocolate pudding, which some new listeners may still not understand. We're going to get there. It's really cool. So chocolate pudding is your favorite moments of the show. Stu, what's your first chocolate pudding?
Coming in at number 3 is Winona Ryder's freak out towards the end, where she's on the phone. She gets her brand new phone working. She hears the monster and Will. The reason why I really love that that part of the show is if you pay attention to the staging of how they stage just the setting. They put her, I don't know how they did it, but they like put her chair in the middle of this house and somehow move everything away from her, so she looks so alone in a giant house. And we've seen that house; it's not that big,
Sure.
but it looks enormous the way they've just kind of staged the furniture around her. And she looks so small and vulnerable. And then, of course, she starts freaking out and hearing the music, like we said. I like the Clash song in that scene. But then you get a wall monster, and that's cool.
How fucking terrifying would that be? Not even the wall monster, but back up to where there's flickering lights. You just heard like otherworldly things on the phone. You've definitely heard your son's voice now.
Yeah.
The phone is again shocked to to charred nothingness. It's not that dramatic, but it won't work. you know?
Right.
It definitely hurt you.
It's a little black and it won't work. And then that radio kicks on at full volume. Like you ever get in your car after jamming your ass off on the way home? It's like, whoa, way too much. What was I thinking? Pass me is off out of control. You know, like it's like that times 1,000. And she just has this momentary like, oh, it's the Clash, thank God. You know, like, I don't know.
Wait, that's in Will's room.
I should say. Andy, what's your number 3 chocolate pudding?
My number 3 chocolate pudding is 11 and the Lazy Boy.
Adorable.
It's just super cute. It was another one of those, plot irrelevant character moments that like reminds you of your wonder at the world as a kid, and it gives you that sense of 11 as a character, like everything is new to her, and it plays up the 80s set dressing. It just fires on every feel good point it possibly can. And it was just another one of those little scenes that I tear up at for no reason other than it just made me feel good,
Yeah, for sure.
Probably one of the happier scenes in the entire series.
No, it's happy tears, just like, oh, Lazy Boy. And she's like a genuine smile, like Millie was actually having fun on set, not like, oh, this is the 400th take of me ripping the lever on the Lazy Boy, like it looked like the character is having fun, the actor is having fun. I'm sure that the writers had fun remembering it and making the scene themselves, and it's all good stuff.
I'm gonna go sit in a Lazy Boy now. I kind of said
cry.
I didn't buy a recliner.
Happy tears.
Can we record this show from now on Lazy Boys?
Yeah.
Yes.
Just fall asleep
No.
halfway through recording.
We don't have the money, so
We're gonna set up a Patreon for Lazy Boy.
it is streamingthingspod@gmail.com. Let's see. What is mine? I didn't rank them. I'm just very obviously. Okay. I will say the raining questions on 11 is my number 3. Moving in, I'm going to cheat a little bit and make it a really long moment. But that opening thing where they're raining questions on 11 at the beginning. And they won't shut up. Like, where'd you from? Why are you bald? What's up? Are you deaf? You know, and they scare her.
Not
Not deaf. And then when she tries to get naked and their reaction, she gives her, clean clothes and she has no sense of propriety. She doesn't even know how to eat a fucking Eggo. Like, no syrup. She doesn't question Mike at all. Like, there's no syrup. So clearly she's got issues. So when he gives her clean clothes, she just goes to change right in front of them. And they all freak out, which endears us to these boys who we already know are good people.
Dustin's in the background. Oh my God.
And he does it again. He's missing the die. Like they just can't handle. He needs some of Hopper's medicine, I think. He's a very anxious kid. So it has a twofold thing. It's a comedic thing, and it characterizes 11, but it also characterizes the boys and makes them, they're very wholesome, honorable kids. They're not going to take advantage of anybody. They uphold honor at all costs, right? So they all turn around and freak out, And I just thought that was a noticeable thing. Because when I was 13, I wouldn't have pushed the envelope, but I would have definitely hung back like, hey, guys, she does her thing.
Go on.
Hey, man.
Everyone's like, no, wait, don't. And you're in the background. Don't stop.
Like I said, I wouldn't have probably spoke up for it, but I wouldn't, I would have been in the back like, leave her alone, man. She does what she does.
Chris, where'd you get popcorn?
I don't know. I just really thought it just had like a triple whammy effect of just characterizing everybody in the room and being a comedic thing and moving plot. Very good. Very good. So I'm going to say raining questions as that. So your number 2 there, Steve?
My number 2 is another Winona Ryder scene, and that's when she hits up her boss for a phone and 2 weeks' pay. I love that scene just because you totally understand. She needs a phone. Her kid's missing. If someone needs to call her, she needs a phone. So you understand why she's there. You get the impression that it reinforces that she is working hard all the time. She's a hardworking single mom because she says, like, I've never taken a day off.
10 years.
10 years,
She should own that store.
For real. Like, what was the boss's name? I didn't write it down.
Donald. He's such a boss name.
Donald. Give this woman, like, assistant general manager or something.
Right.
Come on. She knows the store. But then she kind of uses her grief in a way to haggle.
It's interesting they went that route.
Marlboros and
pack of camels.
Pack of camels.
Not even
excuse me.
Marlboros. Yeah.
Pack of camels, 2 weeks advance, and he goes along with it. But that last one where she asks for the cigarettes, he gives her that look like this fucking bitch.
Yeah. Well, and you kind of get the sense again. I don't want to just call them geniuses the whole way. I'm sure they're no Mozart, but they're very good at layering in stuff that would normally take a lesser filmmaker or showrunner mini episodes or a much more expository, boring moment to convey, where you just get the sense that she has been beat down and walked over for so long. And it's not so much that she's manipulating others' allowance of her grief, but gathering strength for the first time in a long time because she's able to not give a fuck about this shit. She's taken so much shit for so long. And now she's like, fuck you. This is what I've done. This is what you're going to give me, or I'm going to beat your ass, Donald. And a pack of cigarettes, bitch. You know what I mean? Like, and you owe me so much more than that, but I'm going to be nice and just take this. And the nice phone in the back that I know you keep for flow.
It's like like you said, it's very empowering for her to see like her kids missing, and she spent so much time maybe not hanging out with Will or Jonathan because she was at that place.
Yeah, she says she works Thanksgiving, Christmas.
She missed out on all these family moments, and now literally her family is missing. And so screw Donald.
Yeah, fucking.
That
I
dude.
hate everyone named Donald that I can think of except Sutherland. What a class act. Andy, you're number 2.
So my number 2 was the contact from Will that we already discussed. The phone call, the Cure song playing in the background. I love the monster comes out of the wall and she freaks out. She runs. We already talked about the brilliance of the "Should I Stay or Should I Go" Cure song coming up, and the
Cure?
fact that the Clash. I'm sorry. And the fact that she's willing to risk everything to come back in for it. I just love how it was set up earlier on. So it's more like I love the thread of it throughout the episode, but how that song was set up as being an important symbol in the story, and what it meant for Will to like bond with his brother, and like the scene when his brother's like, Lonnie's not coming, is he? He's like, do you really even like baseball? And, you know, he's being the big brother, like, you know what? Let's hang out. Let's listen to some music, you know? And, you know, this song's important to him. And it was just all of that built up throughout the episode to culminate in Joyce recognizing it as being symbolic of her son, and not even really knowing her son's there, but knowing that this is something that she needs to be there for, because she needs to be there for her son. It's just brilliant.
Yeah, totally.
Super well done.
Okay. My number 2 has to be the third act of episode 2, chapter 2, when Barb gets taken by the Demogorgon.
Justice for Barb.
Hashtag Justice for Barb, which we can bring back with this show, from the dead, from the upside down, the hashtag. I just love everything. As much as I bitched about the camera, I think when Jonathan using that device to kind of just still frame black and white, just it really creeps up the vibe of that whole set piece. That he's creeping from the shadows. There's some sex going on. I think they make a point to show that he stops taking pictures. I actually laughed out loud knowing that it wasn't what it looked like, but
He lifts the camera back up.
You know, she takes her shirt off. They move in. He pulls the camera down, clearly angry, but a little turned on. You know? And then he pulls the camera back up to his eye, and he's looking at Barb now. But for a second, I'm like, oh, lost the honor. He is not like his little brother's friends. She's just sitting forlorn at the pool, and then just classic horror, the way that it appears behind her, and then she's gone. Very effective scene, I felt like. And at this point, if you haven't seen it before, you're like, what the fuck? And I'm still like, what the fuck, to be honest with you. It's another little tiff. I don't know if it's a failing in the show or if it's something I just don't remember, but we're definitely not clear at this point what the rules are
For how the Demogorgon goes.
Right. Is everyone at danger at this point? Because he seems to, and he obviously can telepathically unlock doors, which I think is an influence from his dimension that he has.
He can smell blood.
That is a thing for sure. But is it only Hawkins? Because I know that the entrance, if I recall, I don't want to spoil, but it just confuses me as far as the rules of his movement. But that's my number 2. Anywho, Stu, your number 1, chocolate pudding.
My number 1 chocolate pudding goes back to a scene that Andy mentioned earlier, and that's the scene with Will and Jonathan bonding over the Clash song. That's very, very heartwarming, just kind of him playing the big brother and making sure that he's okay, because screw Lonnie, man. That guy. And coming from someone who, when I was growing up, my brothers were significantly older than I, and they were very much the sports guys, and I'm very much a nerd guy. So I kind of relate to that whole idea of like, oh, they only want to do sports things. They don't want to do Star Wars things. And so it's very humanizing. And also Jonathan pulls out, he's like, yeah, we can listen to The Clash. We can listen to David Bowie and Joy Division. I'm like, all right, I like this guy. He's got the jams.
He's got good taste.
So yeah, that's my number 1.
He's protecting him from the dysfunctional family, but also on like a base level, just being older brother. Like, I will show you the ways of pop culture.
Yes.
This is what is cool, which is a very much older brother thing. And that was cool. They just kind of combined those two things into a very realistic interaction there.
Listen to this album with a candle lit and you'll see your future.
Yeah. Tommy, The Who. My number 1 was actually the moment where Eleven is trying in her limited way of communicating to show the boys where Will is.
Yeah.
And having seen it before, but the first time is just extremely intriguing, and you're just as confused as the 3 children, but having seen it before and knowing where it goes, it's so brilliant. The way she turns the board upside down and sets, Will in the black, and then slams down the Demogorgon piece to show them, no, these are not people with guns. It's some fucked up shit, Right. And again, their willingness and the willing suspension of disbelief on their part is just amazing. I love it. And it's totally, I buy it, I just, knowing where that goes, pretty solid foreshadowing, very fun for a rewatch. Glad you listeners are here with us because there's some fun layers. Steve, did you do your job on this episode?
Do we hear Andy's number one?
My number one.
Oh, I'm so sorry. Fuck, I always do this to Andy.
My number one pudding.
Give the man his pudding.
Let me try again. Andy, your number one chocolate pudding.
My number one chocolate pudding.
I've had the chocolate pudding.
Was Stu's number 3.
Oh, huge disagreement.
Yeah. It's Stu. It was so Joyce goes to work and she's freaking out. She needs a phone. She knows that her son's trying to contact her through that. She doesn't know how it's working. She doesn't know why. She knows that there's bad stuff happening because there's monster sounds. She's getting electrocuted and shit. But she's like, all right, Donald, I need this phone. I don't have money. I gave the money to my son so he could get flyers for my missing kid. I need 2 weeks advance. He's like, oh, I kind of got to pay this guy. And then, like Stu said, she names like, I've been here 10 fucking years. You know, never have missed a shift, etc. And her voice breaks and she says, I don't know where my boy is. And it's just so well done. Like, you know, like she is exasperated. She's dealing with her boss, this authority figure that walks all over her. And she like breaks for half a second in it. And then, you know, like reaffirms herself and is like, I need 2 weeks advance, this phone, and a pack of Camels. And it's like, yes. Like, you know, it's such an empowering moment. You know, it's good stuff.
I wish she had went on. And a lighter. And some socks. And a blowjob.
From the guy you called in to cover my shift.
Or whatever. Very good chocolate puddings, guys.
Which, by the way, is that a thing you can do? Can I go to my employer and be like, yo, Donald, I need 2 weeks advance on my paycheck.
I don't think advances are a thing anymore. Not in my world, at least, for sure. I mean, I've done it for employees, like let them borrow my money, but like
Like
give
to
them
have
money
like a
that,
ledger that
no,
like he
there's
was
no
filling
ledgers.
out.
Yeah, that'd be on an iPhone for sure, or an iPad.
Yeah. Not in corporate America. There's definitely no advances.
We got out of that shit. We ain't helping people no
Like,
more.
After what happened with Joyce, they were like, cut it out.
Yeah.
Donald made some phone calls just like, this isn't working out, guys.
1983 profits were extremely low, Donald. What was up? Well, let's see what happened. This fucking bitch.
2017, he's going to be like, well, you should apply for a rewards card because every like $3 you spend, you get a penny back. You can apply for the phone in about 15 years.
We actually have a missing kid loyalty club. So I think this will apply for you. The APR is very low. Yeah. So anyhow, we took that joke to the ground in the upside down and
going.
deeper. Yeah. There was one thing I wanted to mention real quick before we get to Steve's segment. The milk. And not the snorting of the milk was very funny. We talked about that. But I had a weird moment where the fact that he's drinking milk for dinner, which is now weird to me, with savory things, meatloaf and salty vegetables. I used to do that as a kid.
Oh, absolutely.
Drink milk with savory things,
Yeah.
which is fucking bizarre to me now. Milk is for sweet things, and I drink almond milk now, but that's beside the point. You know what I mean?
When I was a kid, it was always orange juice, milk, or water. You know, that's all you get.
Yeah.
You pick one. And there's soft drinks sitting over there, but you can't have those. It is orange juice, milk, or water. And so, yeah, I would always go with milk.
So did anyone else have that moment of like, oh shit, I used to drink milk at weird times? That's
I
right.
found out later I was lactose intolerant. So
Yeah,
it was a bad childhood.
And he's just shitting everywhere. Like, this is so bad. Give me the water. Anywho, I just wanted to bring that up and see if anybody else had that feeling. So yeah, Steve, your segment. Did you do your job?
Will call.
Will call. What is will call?
Will call is when we watch the episodes, we try to count how many times someone yells, Will, or where's Will? Or says his name in some annoying fashion. Now, the rule is sometimes there's volunteers who are shouting his name.
Which is very much just background set design.
Background set noise. We will count them if they are the sole dialogue happening. But as soon as like Harper starts talking or Hopper starts talking, then
You really want to call him Harper.
I do. I don't. Hopper just doesn't sound like a name you call a man.
It's a bunny rabbit name.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like I would call a rabbit Hopper. Not,
Or Dennis Hopper is a real person's name, so I feel bad now. Anywho,
He's dead.
which is also an 80s star. Are we
I was
talking
thinking
some Blue
Harper
Velvet
Lee,
here?
like To Kill a Demogorgon.
Ooh, nice, nice,
Solid reference.
very layered. Okay, so what was the will call?
The call for episode 2 was 17 times.
Wow,
There were 17.
under
A
episode
little,
one
a
though.
little down from episode 1.
Little
Which
down.
makes sense.
5 down.
The people are losing hope.
Like, this kid's been missing a couple days now.
He doesn't any water or milk. Well,
Yeah.
Okay.
So,
Wonderful.
yeah, we'll see if that number continues to trend downward or if it goes up at all.
Can you make a, what's it called?
Prediction.
A plot graph? What's it called? Flow chart? Not a flow
Oh,
chart.
I know what you're talking about, where you have the dots over a period of time.
One of those.
Yeah.
We're not statistics, smart people, but
Line graph, I guess. I don't
yes, I believe. Maybe.
Dots and
Anywho,
lines.
Plotting.
Let's make a dots and
know.
lines.
Pencils and rulers.
Let's make it dots and lines. That sounds like something Donald would say. Okay, the best performance in chapter 2. Andy.
Winona Ryder.
Winona.
Yeah, without a doubt. She had iconic scenes in this episode, and she just fills the screen. You know, I mean, like we talked about it on the last episode. Like, kid playing Jonathan was named Charlie Heaton.
I believe so, yes.
Like how difficult it must be to be working opposite her, and she just kills it. She really does, and especially in this episode.
Okay. Steve, you're number 2?
Baby Holly. No.
She is great.
No, I would have to go with, is it Millie? What's her last name?
Millie
Brown.
Millie Vanilli.
Millie Vanilli. The girl who plays 11, she was fantastic this episode. Just like I said, being able to flip that switch from wide-eyed joy and wonderment of discovering all these new things like a lazy boy to just being absolutely petrified that you're in a closet.
Yeah.
And she really sells that closet too. So she's just fantastic. I wish I could act that well, let alone be a child actor who can act that well.
It's insane.
Yeah, spoiler alert. I have to give it to Millie as well. I think that she's given so little with her script. Obviously she can hardly speak, so she has very little dialogue. She has one-word sentences that hardly make sense. They're out of context. She has to point at herself, and it always works. And there's always many layers to everything that's going on. Like you pointed out, there's the wonder, the fear, the confusion, the righteous anger, and the deep power that she holds that we're only getting hints of so far. And she just does such a great job of giving all of that. And at her young age, Winona has got so much experience, and not to just conflate the two and take one from the other. Like, well, pound for pound, Millie fucks Winona up right now. That's not what I'm getting at, but it's impressive.
I'd pay to watch that fight.
She reminds me, and this is going to be bizarre, and I'm getting a lot of shitty emails, but she reminds me of Kristen Stewart. And let me explain that she does very little on the surface, but people begin to see so much depth.
Okay, yeah.
And I think now Millie's obviously much more widely loved, I would say, probably, as far as the people that, there's much less on the fuck Millie camp than the fuck Kristen Stewart camp. But Kristen Stewart's getting a lot of awards, and recognition now for people realizing, oh shit, she's doing something. Like there's some very subtle work that's actually more difficult than Hysteria.
Yes.
You know what I mean? And it's a thing. We try to make movies all the time, and like acting normal without looking like you're acting is a lot of times way harder than acting like hysterically sad or maniacal or something like that. And she does a very good job of being chill and reacting to small cues and being normal. So looking real. So props to Millie Bobby Brown, which is also itself a meta 80s reference, the Bobby Brown. Am I wrong? Am I wrong?
I don't think you're wrong.
That's right.
I think you're right. Actually, before we roll on, you were vindicated this episode.
I was.
You were, because
right.
last episode we were talking about Hopper, whether he was, he stayed in the town and was always the chief, or if he went to a big city and came back, and it's confirmed.
Confirmation.
He was a big city cop and came back.
Makes you feel like a big city cop again, Hopper.
Which these deputies are such assholes. Like, oh, your friend just died. Makes you feel like a big city cop again.
Oh, dude, and it was
cheering you up with a hole in his head, isn't he? Way to go, Benny.
It was such a tiny scene, but like the way that the gentleman that plays Hopper, his name
David Harbour.
David Harbour,
That's why I want to call him Harper.
Oh, no, it's not.
No, it's not.
The way that he delivered that line, his goofy friend cop friend says, kind of makes you say. He says, kind of makes you feel like you're in a big city cop. You're a big city cop again, huh? He says, yeah, except before I was dealing with strangers, Benny was my friend. That was
a great line.
It was really well done.
Actually, until Stu pointed it out, I never realized what a fucking dick these guys are.
Yeah.
But almost
they're like comic relief.
Sociopathic, though. It's
Yeah.
almost like to the show's fault, but they take so much care and detail being realistic within these supernatural confines that it makes no sense that these tiny cops who in 4 years, the worst thing on their beat has been an owl in a lady's head, right? Fluttering by it. There's Flutter again. And now they're seeing dead bodies and flies and like things to turn a normal man's stomach that you have to be hardened to,
Right.
or sociopathic to endure. And they're cracking jokes and
And even after Hopper says like, "Oh, Benny was my friend," the one guy doesn't react like, "Oh shit, I shouldn't have said that. I'm sorry, man." He's just kind of like,
They're like the Jay and Silent Bob
Yeah.
cops. Like the one just stands back, doesn't say anything. The other one just says stupid shit the whole time.
like there wasn't any like stomach turning or like, oh, it smells bad. Or
Well, the one dude made a smell.
Yeah,
He
they-
did a smell
they-
bad reaction,
yeah.
but the one who's like big city cop, that guy nothing. That guy's killed people before.
it's like, I can't wait till they find my bodies.
They're like, Will's missing. James, what'd you do with him?
Wasn't me. I took Sally. Nobody missed her apparently though. And I love that. Before we move on again, there's some things are just coming to me. Hopper and his depression and his feeling like he's cursed took time to research when the last suicide in this town was and when the last missing child.
The summer of 23.
In an era, there was no internet. He didn't whip out his phone and depressively Google this.
He went to the
He
library.
went to the fucking library and poured through the records on the big magnifying glass screen thing with the old newspapers. And
What were those called?
I don't know. Clearly, I didn't know. Why'd you bring that up?
I don't know. I was hoping Andy was sitting
I
on
said
that.
big
Microfilm.
Microfilm. Microfilm and microfiche. There you go.
There you go. Yeah,
I used to work at a library for 3 years. Why didn't I remember that?
because you are a fool, Stu. So yeah, he put a lot of effort into this stats to pull out in the middle of the night. Anywho, so our next segment we call Easter Eggos, which is a very self-explanatory. We like Eggos; they're very prevalent, relevant to the show, and we're hunting for Easter eggs. So our favorite little Easter eggs that we were able to notice throughout the show, helped along by our research of the last year, of course. Sometimes, Andy, just throw out an Easter egg there.
Yeah, the title of this episode, The Weirdo on Maple Street, is a reference to an episode of The Twilight Zone called The Monsters Are Due on Maple Street. Yeah, it's kind of like a Twilight Zone reference.
I also thought
What's that like?
it's kind of like a double whammy. To me, it brings back, because I never watched the Twilight show that often enough to memorize show titles, but I immediately thought of Nightmare on Elm Street.
Yeah.
And then Weirdo on Maple Street. It can't be an accident. At the very least, it was like a secondary, like, oh, shit, that's cool too.
Yeah.
You know?
Plus the whole Eggos thing, like that they didn't use maple syrup.
Oh, right. Yes, that was something. Yes, that was the true meaning.
We don't use maple syrup on Maple Street.
One of us. Steve, your ego.
One of the first ones they throw out is, I think Dustin compares Eleven to Michael Myers.
Yeah.
Indeed, he
It's like,
did.
what if she's like Michael Myers?
What does the obscure comic have anything to do? He's not obscure.
Austin
either.
Powers wasn't out yet.
Baby Driver, it was supposed to be Michael Myers. Yeah. This is Michael Myers.
Yeah, like what, Jason? Okay, I have none of them. No, Dark Crystal. There was a Dark Crystal poster that I never noticed before.
Where
which
was that at?
Super awesome.
In
Mike's room?
Mike's room, yeah.
I love Mike even more
Dude,
now.
Mike's the shit.
Dude, Dark Crystal references. If you make Dark Crystal references, I like you more.
Andy, another ego from Andy. Ego Andy is what we call him.
Let's see here. There is a Jaws poster I noticed in Jonathan's room.
And that comes back later.
Indeed.
Stu, straight to Stu with the Ego.
I thought it was a nice homage when Mike's leading 11 around the house and kind of showing her, his lifestyle. Like, this is the lazy boy. This is Yoda. That's very much an E.T. scene. I think Elliot even does the Yoda thing. Yoda.
Yeah.
And Yoda itself is one of the Easter eggs there, too.
And, that's obviously
Yeah, they're
Star
really
Wars.
driving it home that, and you said this last time, but for some reason it made more sense this time that, or maybe it was Andy, that 11 is E.T., right? With the power. Holy shit. That's obvious. I'm ridiculous.
He literally hides her in the closet like an E.T.
And the founder in the shed and the levitation powers and showing him around the house.
And then when the mom comes home with, I already forgot her name, Baby Holly. Baby Holly is wearing a yellow rain, just like Drew Barrymore's character.
And Will phones home.
Oh my God, guys. We cracked it. The Duffer Brothers are hacks. This is just E.T.
And then Andy, what was that poster that you deciphered? It was the Evil Dead.
Yeah, there's also an Evil Dead poster.
Sorry to steal that. I'm sorry, bro.
That's all right.
No, I'm sorry, bro.
This is a pretty cool deep cuts one. In homage to Jaws, the monster is attracted by the drop of blood by Barb
In the water.
Barb.
Much
It's
like a shark is attracted to blood.
Well, it's like a shot from Jaws, like they drip the blood into the water, and then like,
and if you listen closely, it was actually there. It wasn't. I'm just kidding.
Nah, it super wasn't. But yeah, it's that. Yeah, I think that the monster being drawn by blood, and that's a thread that comes back later in the show that was pulled straight from E.T. or Jaws. E.T.
The monster's drawn to Reese Pieces.
Stu, Ego from you.
So I don't know if this is technically an Easter egg, but this is what it made me think of: is when they were looking over the quarry. Is that a reference to Stand By Me?
Perhaps.
I don't, that's what I immediately thought of. I wasn't sure if that counted, but it made me think.
It
Stand
counts.
By Me.
Everything counts. Andy, when I stole your, that's why I was laughing. I wasn't laughing at Stu. When I stole your Evil Dead poster, you should have said, "Hey, bro, Lego my ego."
That would have been good.
Anywho,
We owe the money now.
okay, I have one that I think is new. Probably not. Nothing's new in the world of the internet. The Shawshank Redemption ego. When the police look through the drain tunnel, it's the exact shot of when they discover the tunnel in the wall of the prison when they pull the poster off the wall, which, for those who don't know, is an adaptation of a Stephen King property. So it's not 80s.
Yeah, Rita Hayworth in The Shawshank Redemption.
But it is Stephen King, and they're very about that. I don't think there's any way that was an accident of that exact framing. I mean, it's an obvious way to frame something. It's kind of like Inside the Trash Can move in like film school. But I don't know. I just felt like that was very reminiscent of that movie we've all seen 300 times on TNT to me, to not be noticed. But anywho, there's that. Andy, another ego from you.
This super doesn't count as egos, but can we just get a shout out to all the jean jackets in this show?
Jean jackets!
I mean, like, it stuck out to me when Jonathan was putting up his flyer for like, hey, my brother's missing. And in the background, Barb's wearing her giant balloon pant jeans, weird 80s, balloon pants. And I don't know, it's not egos at all. It's just the lengths that they went in this show to be accurate, to avoid anachronisms,
They killed it
accurately portray this setting. Just fucking brilliant.
And at $5 million an episode, they fucking better.
Jesus, was it?
Jeez,
For the first season, it was that much? Jesus
I believe
Christ.
so.
No
And
wonder
it's bumped
Netflix
up
is
to
like $6 billion in debt.
Yeah.
Oh, shit.
Yeah, it's paying off though. For us. That's what I mean. Just a few bands. I don't know if anybody's got any bands written down, but it's kind of far stretch egos. I threw out The Cure.
The Cure?
The Cure.
When did The Cure play?
Please God, let The Cure have played, because I made that mistake last time. But I'm almost positive when they're partying and jumping in the pool.
I Stop the World and Met With You? Uh-huh. That's modern English.
You're fucking kidding me. Didn't The Cure cover that?
They might have, but that was the modern English version.
You know what? You're a piece of shit. Okay, listeners. I think you're getting... I'll be honest. I don't like 80s music. Or 70s, apparently. Or
Jefferson Airplane.
I'm 90% sure we don't have any devices. We like to focus on you, the listener. We could easily Google this quickly, but we don't because we focus on you and what we imagine your voice would sound like, your ear holes and what they look like. So I'm not Googling it, but I'm pretty sure The Cure covered that song, and that's the version that I know. I'll stop the world and melt with you like a Reese's Pieces. Okay, whatever. Moving
I hope
on.
this becomes a thing like every episode. Like, man, I really love that song by Fleetwood Mac. Like, dude, that was David Bowie.
That Eminem track, though, bro.
That was Metallica.
Did anyone hear a metal riff? Like a metal, like literally like a heavy metal riff? Or was I tripping?
What scene?
Just ran, I don't know. It was like a cut, and it was like, dun Okay, my ears are fucked. Go on. What's another ego from you, Steve?
Going on bands. They had I think it was mostly played when Jonathan was like looking when he was searching for things. They played. I'm gonna mispronounce this guy's name. Vangelis. He's the guy who did the soundtrack for Blade Runner. It's very like synthy.
Okay. It wasn't Van Halen.
It wasn't Van Halen. No, it's a Greek guy.
That'd been awesome.
But he's best known for making the Blade Runner soundtrack. But yeah, they use a lot of his songs.
Okay.
And in the series, and the first instance was in this episode.
Awesome.
And yeah, I really like that.
So you're much better at the music thing, for sure. If you got the Van Halen and I couldn't even get the modern English.
Jefferson Airplane.
I got one that's definitely a stretch that I completely made up, but I put it down as an ego. Jonathan looks like Edward Furlong a la Terminator 2 to me.
He does look a lot like him.
Yeah.
With just his demeanor, but he's got like the greasy hair thing, and like, but he is handsome, but like needs to clean his shit up. You know what I mean?
Wow, yeah, that's a good comparison.
Yeah, they look a lot alike.
They both have jean jackets.
There's that. Well, that was the thing, you know? It was the thing. Plus, they both have like Death Machine friends, and they speak Spanish. None of that happens. Hasta la vista, baby, get it? No,
Yeah.
I'm sorry. We've got a couple more. I do. Do you?
I have one more.
Okay, Stu.
Oh, me?
Yeah.
So this is kind of like more what with Andy was going. Instead of jean jackets, I just want to like sing the praises of Barb's Trapper Keeper, because that thing is beautiful. That thing's got layers of Velcro. It's pink. It's big. It holds all her homework.
Everything.
Can we go back to a time when Trapper Keepers were the
I
thing?
want one.
Those were the best.
Kids these days don't understand the joy.
If there's someone under the age of 25, they're probably like, "What that Trapper Keeper?"
Oh, for sure. And they say it in a snooty, stupid voice like that.
Can I Snapchat it?
Is there a Trapper Keeper filter? Andy, do you
What kind of apps does it come with?
do you have any more egos?
Nah, I'm fresh out.
Oh, bummer. I have one I don't know, so that's kind of a half an ego. So somebody already bit a huge chunk off of it.
It's a go.
I know that I read somewhere that Nancy's body in the window with the blinds, when he snaps that photo, that is a almost, pixel per pixel rendition of a popular film from the 80s poster. Again, meant to do some deeper research to provide you all with exactly what that was. That's the point of a show like this. I did not do that in my excitement to reach you, the lovely listener. So you should look that up and let me know. Email us at streamingthingspod@gmail.com.
The photo of her is supposed to be a poster. Okay.
That's what I read. And it was on the internet, so it has to be true. And then, again, with the jaw, Andy's right that the blood part is definitely mostly jaws. Also, another little predator thing, I felt like, with the jaws. The actual jaws of the Demogorgon.
Yeah.
Damn, that gets deep. Okay, that's it for Easter Egos, which brings us to the end of Streaming Things. Which, if you haven't picked up, that's how we imagine the show Stranger Thing is pronounced out loud, You know how it's like when you go to work and you're like, "Hey guys, did you watch Stranger Things last night?"
Yeah.
And then
That's
two
what everybody
other
did.
people come out of nowhere and also whisper it.
Yes, so that is it for another episode of Streaming Things. You can send your feedback to streamingthingspod@gmail.com. That is streamingthingspod@gmail.com. And be sure to tune into episode 3, which we will do in a couple days. Please, if you're listening, and I know you are, take the time to rate and review us on iTunes. Sincerely, that would mean a lot to us. I'm sure there's a lot of podcasts of our type out here, and it really helps us, people know that we exist because it bumps us up with this way that the algorithms work. And you can find us on Stitcher and Google Play and wherever else you find podcasts. And enjoy your evening or morning or afternoon or whatever time it is. That's all we got. My name is Chris.
I'm Andy.
I'm Steve.
And this was Stramming Things. Stephen King is the shit. The shit. The 80s fucking rock. Eggos. Top Gun. Transformers. Bebop and Rocksteady. Cobra Commander. Dungeons and Dragons. Synthesizers. Atari. Big glasses. Hairspray. Black Michael Jackson. Winner. That's going in.
Oh no!
Now that's going in, dude. Be ballsy.